Hi felters and welcome. Today we are going to do the start of our 5 Woodland series Christmas baubles. They are really simple design, they haven't got any complex legs, they are perfect for beginners, and they've got little accessories which we're going to needle felt as well. So we're starting with Mr. Owl today, and we've got Miss Rabbit, Mr. Fox, Mr. Badger and Miss Hare. So let's get started. So Mr. Owl is a very simple design. He's mostly all white with a little bit of grey. He's a ball at the bottom and a ball for the head, and then 2 shapes for the wings, dots, eyes, shape the nose, and a hat. So the hats I bought off Amazon. I'm going to list everything in the description below and the wool colours I used, but we're going to needle felt a hat in case you don't fancy buying a little one off Amazon. So take some, this is just a white carded slither from World of Wool. I can't remember which one it is, probably the Corriedale, knowing me, that's the one I use the most. And I'm just wrapping it up, not extremely tightly, but fairly tightly. You want to get it into a sort of ball shape. But as you can see, even at the beginning of my wrap-ups, it's not completely in a ball shape. And this is my clover pen. I've just got 2 needles in it, 240 triangular. And we're just going to start to hold that shape together. Now I have obviously speeded up some of the really boring bits because you don't need to sit through everything, do you? But hopefully there's plenty here. This video is slightly longer than my normal videos of about sort of 15-20 minutes. So I've put this one to at least 30. So I've roughly felted it together in the shape of a ball. And then I'm just going to add some more. So that was really loosely felted. You saw that I literally sort of felted it for about a minute. And then I'm going to add some more, and we'll go through measurements in a second so that you can see what sort of size I'm aiming for. But you could make these bigger. You could make them smaller, but details get really tricky when you do small items. This is my lovely candle that I've got here. It smells absolutely delicious. Cranberry, orange and cinnamon. It's from a lady that lives up in John O'Groats, Puffing Croft. And I saw her on TV a while ago, and I always get my candles from her. So roughly shaping it, it needs to be a little bit bigger, but we're going to add the wings. So as you can see, I'm sort of comparing it for size. It's about the same size really at the moment, because when you add the wings, you're going to make it a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. So I'm going to work this all the way around with the clover pen and just firm it up a bit. Now I don't go tennis ball hard with firmness, but I do like things to be fairly firm. But this is, I've roughly felted that all the way around for about 5 minutes, and I'm just going to add a little bit extra on for the tummy so that the tummy side sort of sticks out a bit. I do have to say sometimes you lose which side was the tummy side, but if you give it a bit of a squish, you can generally sort of make the tummy look like it's sticking out a bit. So I did add just a little bit more on one side and felt it all round. By the way, the bits, if you didn't know, if you're a beginner, the bits that you get in the wool is just vegetable matter. It's like straw, it could be anything, grass. It's completely normal, so don't worry about it. Just pull it out if it's going to show. So we're looking at about 2.5 to 3 inches across there. So you don't want to make them too big. So I've worked that ball all the way around. We will make it in better detail. We will go round with a finer needle later on. So we're just going to get the head, and again I just took a little bit. So the head, we do need to be a tiny bit smaller than that 2.5-3 inches across. So I'm building it up in layers, pulling out the vegetable matter as we go. Normally wool has vegetable matter in, like I said, it's completely all right unless it's been really bleached and dyed and coloured. Then you normally have it where it's tops, and there's absolutely nothing left in it. So there we go, I'm building up the head, and I'll do a little measurement for you in a sec. So like I said with these, you could make these bigger. They could be not baubles, you could have them on the side. They would be really, really lovely. And you could give them little legs as well if you wanted to. So we're about 1.5. So it was 2.5 for the body, inches, and about 1.5. So I'm pretty happy with that. And we're going to join it in a minute, and then we'll put some wool around the neck. So I just take the clover pen. Because these are still fairly fluffy, they attach quite well. So at this stage here, I've probably been working on this for about 15 minutes or so. I reckon you could get these done in at least an hour and a half. If you're quite an experienced felter, maybe a bit quicker. But definitely allow yourself an hour and a half. And there's 5 of these, so I thought we'll start now, and then if you do want them for your Christmas tree, they'll definitely be done in time. I'll be putting the videos out 1 every 2 days or so. I haven't filmed them all. So we're going to add a bit of wool around the neck, which is a nice thin fluffy layer. So this wool is all carded wool, which I go on about for beginners. It just makes life a lot easier, and it felts a lot faster. So definitely go. It can be called bats in America. It's a little bit confusing. It is called different things in different places, but over here in the UK, carded wool, and it comes, bats is a big flat shape. I go on about this all the time. Go and check out my wool videos. I've got loads of information. So I added a little bit more just to make the neck a bit thicker. Owls don't have to have a neck that goes in and out. You can sort of almost go in a straight line down. So I've added a little bit more here, and I'm just working it round. And again, that was probably about 3 or 4 minutes working it round. And then I'm going to take a finer needle. Look at me. I'm trying to work out which one's best. This happens all the time. So this is the 40 triangular, and I've been favouring this quite a bit lately. I also like the 40 spiral or twisted a lot from Heidi Feathers. But now we're going to work your way all the way over the whole body, and give it a nice smooth finish. And this does take easily 20 minutes. Don't rush it, just enjoy it. This is where it really starts to firm up, and you can see there where I've done all of that area. I'm going to work my way all the way around, and there you go. You didn't have to sit through it all. Just pause the video and catch up. So he's a little bit slimmer than that one, but we're going to do the wings. Just double check on the whole height for you. 3.5 inches in height. So look at him, he's a very simple design. So we're going to do the wings. I quite like to use a bit of felt or pre-felt underneath them. You do not have to. You could put your wool down on the mat and then stab round the shape of the wing and then fold it over, and then that would give you a wing shape. However, if you have any of this hanging around, it makes life a lot easier, because you just attach the wool to it and the shape is sort of already there. So I've just cut out a rough wing shape. So it's rounded at the top, pointed at the bottom. And you're going to want to point them slightly backwards a bit. So I'm taking a bit of, and this literally, not core wool, but this is a cheap wool, but it's a perfect colour for the owl. So that's why I just went with it. I didn't order a very white bleached wool, so I thought this would be absolutely fine. And so you attach it on one side and then turn it over and fold the wool around the edges, so it gives you a nice edge because you've got that felt underneath and a lovely guide. You don't need to use that much wool because your wing will be quite thick. You can literally see it was just a little bit of a slither. It wasn't much that I needed. And then just fold the edges over. I'm just double checking. See, it looks a bit huge at the moment, but by the time you work it all in and round, it should be okay. So I work it along, and then I sort of normally do the middle bit first, and then I push. The edges are still way too fluffy, so I'm pushing them in a bit. But yeah, work it all over, and the more you work it, the smaller it's going to get. And then once I put it on the owl, then I will do the fine detail and make it nice and smooth. So it doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. I just like the sort of edge bit it gives you with the felt, and it's just a nice easy shape to follow. But don't feel you have to, like I said. So you draw it on your mat and then you fold over the edges. The mat sort of, because you know how wool sticks to your mat, that will sort of hold the outline and allow you to fold it in. So you fold it in and then peel it off, and then you'll have your wing shape. So here I am just working it over in a little bit more detail, but not properly. The proper fineness I'll get once it's on the owl. So this set are a perfect little woodland set. There we go, just checking for size. So you could add other animals to it. You could do them in colours specific to your tree. Or you could add details on, say your tree is, I don't know, what colour would you like it to be? Yellow. You could add yellow ribbons on, or yellow hats, so you could make things more specific to your tree. But as they are, as woodland animals, with a little bit of red on them, they do match most trees. So I've attached it on, I'm happy with the position, and now I'm just going to work it round and push that edge in a little bit. I like to attach all through the middle normally, and so this will shrink down a bit. And again, I'm back to the clover pen just to speed things up. And then very gently push the edges in to sort of get that nice little shape. But you don't want to completely flatten the edges. It's nice to have the little bit edge bit showing. I do have an owl course, which is a much bigger owl. There's a lot more details and definition, but again, not too complex, and really good legs. So there we go, that's one wing. I'm checking it. I'm quite happy with that, and see how it bulges the body out a little bit more. So do the other wing, just checking for size. Make sure you obviously get the round bit at the top and the pointy bit pointing round the back. And there we go. So attach, put the wool over the top and then just fold it under. So here we are, loosely attached, not looking very neat, but we're going to go over it with a needle in a sec. But yeah, I'm quite happy with it. They're the right height, check from front and back, and yeah, so just double checking. And then back to the 40 triangular. And now we're going to neaten it up all the way over. So there we are, all neatened up, looking a lot better. So we're going to move on to the face detail. You can literally see the join mark on that side, but it's a really simple nose that we're going to add. You don't have to do anything else. So take a little bit of your carded slither, really quite a small piece, and fold it in half, and then that's going to give you the end of the nose. And then just take a needle and stab it together. You want it sort of in a tube shape, but not overly felted. You're just roughly felting it into a little bit of a tube, and this is going to be the nose. So like I said, it is a very simple detail to add. And we literally only felt it for 20 seconds. Roll it between your hands, which really helps start the felting process. And then that's how we're going to attach it on. It looks a little bit too big, but once you felt it down a bit, it will look good. And the top bit, where it's fluffy, that's going to be under the hat. So we just want to make sure it's positioned right in the middle of the face, between the two wings. And you're going to gently go around either edge, because you're going to want it to be a little bit raised, because that's where it's going to have the beak on it. So I do either side bit first, and then I very gently felt the middle bit. I don't want to all of a sudden squish it in completely. If that happens, just get another bit of wool and put it on the top. So you just will have a nice firm beak. It's a little bit large there, so I've got plenty of room to felt it down and a little bit firmer. But at the bottom, that's where you want it to come down to a bit of a point, and you can literally use your fingers, squidge it together just to help encourage that point, and then just get rid of the fluff at the top, felt it in a little bit, and then gently spend a little bit of time felting it down, and like I said, you don't want to lose it completely. You want it to look like a nose. Still a little bit big there, so we'll just felt it down, and then we'll add a little bit of extra wool to hide the join marks at the sides. Although it doesn't look too bad when you actually see it hanging on the tree, you probably wouldn't notice, but there we go. So it's not too bad. See those join marks there? We're just going to take a little tiny fluffy section, keep it nice and fluffy and thin, and then cover it over. But it does take a short while. You just have to work it, all the fluffiness in, but it does cover it up for you. So there you go. Nice, short, little, gentle, I wouldn't say stabs, they're taps almost. Needle felting is tapping gently, and that you know you're using the right needle, because if you're struggling, you know, your needle might be too big if you're sort of really forcing it in, and if it's doing nothing, your needle might be too fine. So here we are onto the nose, and like I said, I'll put the colours down below. So take a little tiny section, I think I might 20, even a bit smaller than that. I'll get away with it. And then I've folded it, twisted it and folded it in half just to give me that sort of pointy edge bit. And the top of it, I'm going to, yeah, it's a bit too big, I did think. I'm just going to trim some of it off. I'm going to make that, so I've trimmed it into a point there. Let's just see, is that how I'm going to do it? I did video this about a week ago. There we go. So the bottom bit, I just twizzled it where I trimmed it into a point, and that's going to be the base. So it's going to be the thinner bit. And then the top part of the beak, it doesn't matter too much, but you want it to be a bit more flat across the top, so it looks like the beak. So very gently needle felt the point either side. Like I said, don't go mad, just gently shape it with your needle first where you want it, and that's the flat bridge of the beak that I want. So I tried to keep that a little bit straight across and then very gently felt it down. If it goes wrong, you can just pull it off. Felting is so forgiving. And you know, the coloured wool, some of it you might have to pull a few little strands out that might get left behind, but it really is so forgiving. So it's very gentle that I'm felting this into shape. So at the bottom I sort of guide the needle across and across just to get that little point. I literally don't felt the very tip till the end. And again, use your fingers. They sculpt things really nicely and push the wool where you want it. There we go, that is not too bad. Just remember, if you try to recreate lots of these, it's very tricky to recreate it exactly the same with needle felting. So don't worry if you try to recreate some of these and it's not identical, don't panic. So taking a little bit of black wool, and I've twizzled it a bit and then I folded it just to get a nice sort of rounded edge bit. And the eyes are shut on these owls. You could do, we use plastic eyes on the other ones, or you can just needle felt a black eye, put a little tiny bit of white in it to make it look good. But I quite like this owl with this expression. So I felt one side in, and the other side was a little bit longer than it should be, because the eyes, when you felt lines in, they can shrink. Then this is always the harder bit, getting the other side exactly the same. So it's a lot of looking from the front, and see I held the needle down on either side of the nose to see if the eye was the same distance away, and I'm fairly happy with it. So there we go, that's the eyes, nice and simple. And now, you know, we're nearly there. We're on to the dots. So I took some grey. You could use a dark brown, you know, use what you have available to you. As long as the colours sort of stand out, you could do different colours. You could do dots on the wings. You could do them in different places. You could do them at the bottom of the tummy. It will all look like an owl. So do be creative. And so you get a teeny weeny piece. You roll it between your fingers into the shape of a teeny weeny ball. If it's still too big, sometimes I might cut those little lumps in half again You'll know when you felt it on, you know, if it's too big, you'll look at it and go, that's far too chunky, pull it off. Or if it's too small, it just felts in sometimes and disappears, so you have to add a bit more on. See that third one? That's probably a little bit too small, really. But I did them alternate, sort of popping down. Now, these are the hats I got off Amazon, and they are so easy and so good, and I really like them, actually. So just have a look on Amazon if you wanted to do quite a few of these owls. I think you get them in packs of 10. So I absolutely love the hats. But his tummy's a bit bigger, I think, is what I'm looking at there. But what we'll do the strings towards the end. We're going to make a hat for you just to show you that it's possible. So take some red wool. This is Scarlet, I think, from World of Wool, which is a fantastic colour for mushrooms, for Christmas. So lay out the slithers, slightly wider at the bottom there. Doesn't have to be massively wider. And then I think I add a little bit more because I wanted it to be a bit longer at the bottom. And I'm shaping out a triangle that's quite large at the base. And that triangle we're going to wrap around the head. So I needed the bottom bit to be a little bit longer so it would wrap all the way around the head. And I'm just felting it down. And then I'm going to go back to felting the shape of the triangle. And don't worry about overly felting it at this stage, really flat. We're just trying to get this really wide bottomed triangle in. And we'll fold over the tops. And the hat does come out absolutely fine, but I still prefer the Amazon one, sorry. Or if you've got red material, you could make your own. So there we go. So I pulled it off because it will start to stick quite a bit. And then I redid the triangle shape. And now I'm going to fold it over. So this is how you would have shaped the wing, where you felt it into the mat and then fold it over the line that you've felted, and it gives you that lovely edge. So that's a bit too thick. I don't want the hat to be really chunky, and it was a bit thin at the bottom, that bottom corner as well, so I think I add a bit more. But fold that over, so obviously that's going to be the top of the hat, and the bit at the bottom is going to go all the way around the head. And again, this hat does not take that long. This is how you do hats for little gnomes or gonks or whatever. Lincolnshire Fencraft, she has some really good gonks, I think, so definitely worth looking there. I haven't done any videos on that. So just checking it roughly, does it go around the head? And it does. So we're going to felt it a little bit more, and we're going to felt it a lot flatter. This is the base bit, and I was just trying to neaten up the base, but we're going to add a white. So the bottom line doesn't have to be perfect, but we do need to flatten this quite a bit more. So we'll work our way around it and make it look a lot nicer. And I'm just using the clover pen here. So there we go. I've gone all the way over it. It's fairly smooth. I did not spend ages on it. You could spend a lot longer. So take a bit of the white and just get it to hold it together in a line, sort of felt it a bit, and then we're going to roll it between our hands just to make it sort of thicken up, and you want it the length of the base of the triangle, and it's going to be nice and fluffy. But yeah, if you roll it between your hands, you sort of bring it together a bit, you get it more into the shape that you want it to be, and then a little bit more felting, and that's literally how we're going to attach it to the bottom. So when we attach it, we're going to felt the very top to get it into the red and the underneath. You do not, if you felt through that middle bit, you're going to lose all that fluffiness, which hats normally have, that nice sort of fluffy bit. But you do want it to be attached, so I go underneath and above, and that seems to work quite well. If you can't really be very careful if you turned it over and felted the red onto the white, because it would come through. So if you're doing the white through to the red, it's all going to be on the inside, so the red won't come through. And then I took a little bit of white. I didn't even roll it up yet at this stage. Now I felt it together, roll it between your hands, and then this is going to be the little ball at the top. And I sort of went over it a little bit with a finer needle, but kept a tiny edge bit sort of fluffy. And that's the bit that we attach to the very tip of the hat. So this is a really simple way of creating your own little red hat. There we go. So there's a teeny little bit that's fluffy there, And again, this is where you have to be a little bit careful. So we're going to attach it to the back first. So fold it in half. Seems a bit counterintuitive, and then you're going to felt through both pieces right on the edge, and then we're going to poke it out into a sort of hat shape a little bit more and felt it down a bit. So just catch all along the edge bit. Don't worry about the white. Leave that till it goes on. So you see how it's sort of loosely attached, so it's working quite well, and then we're going to fold that over once it's on the head of the owl. So again, work it through, and then you can literally, once it's poked out, you can also felt it very carefully into the sort of shape. Let's just, yeah, the ball keeps disappearing. Yeah, so very carefully, I'm not felting it through to the other side, I'm just giving it, I'm sort of almost smoothing it out a little bit by holding it and felting it between my fingers. And again, it just checks it's definitely attached, but we're going to fold it over once it's on, so it will be. So when you're attaching the ball, it's the same sort of thing. You have to be very careful not to push the wool colours through so they show on the other side. So just check as you're felting it on that it's definitely not, the white's not showing through the red. If you hold it upside down, that will probably be the best, and you'll felt the red down into the white. That will probably work quite well. There we go. So this is just the little tiny ball on the top. And so once we put it on the head, we're going to give it a little fold down so it will look really good. And you won't see that crease at the back so much at all. But like I said, you could make this out of material. That would be quite nice. So there we go. We've got the loose hat. So we're going to get it over the owl's head, stretch it a bit if it doesn't quite fit, and then we're going to felt all the way round that line at the top, and that's going to be your secure attachment to the head of the owl. And it really does work very well. So work all the way round and just follow that line round, and it gives you a nice sort of rim to the hat as well. And then with the back, going to sort of overlap the whites, so make sure you've definitely sort of left enough for it to join, so that's great. But if you overlap it, then the join mark doesn't show. You could just add a little bit more if you needed to, and then again following along the top. That makes the hat nice and secure. And then I think I felt a little bit underneath the white line, just to make that the white rim sort of even. Yeah, just pop in under that bit there, just to even it out if it was looking a little bit baggy on one place. And so we're going to give it a little fold down, and then I felt through, almost through the crease. If you felt the top of the hat, it's going to show in the red, so you want to felt in where the crease is, and in the back helps because that will definitely, no one's going to see that, but you felt it right down, and that will keep it folded down. So there we go, nice and simple. His little hat is all done. So there we go, one made hat, one Amazon hat. So we are going to look at the wire through the top. So this is a beading wire. I'll list this down below. And this works quite well, and it won't show on the tree, but then I did get some gold. It came with gold and silver. It looks really gold, but actually when you have a single piece, it's fine. The only thing with when you have the thicker stuff is you need a needle with a really big eye. You could even force a ribbon through with this needle that I've got, because it goes through quite easily. So I go through the rim of the hat, just at the top. Check you're in the middle of the head. You know, you don't want it to be too far forwards, too far back. So I'm sort of in the middle of the head there. And it goes through really easily. This needle's perfect for it. So if you've got a finer needle, the beading wire is a lot thinner and will work fine. So just checking it's quite sort of level, and then you just tie a knot in it and cut the top off. I actually prefer the gold once I'd finished. I did the filming with the beading wire in because I didn't have any of this gold, but I ordered some, and I think I'm going to leave them with the gold. Let's give it a pull. You don't even need to do a double knot. It seems to be quite tight. And there you go. So that's the gold one. and check he hangs straight. And this is the beading wire, just to show you the difference. So pop that through. It's a lot finer. It is a lot fiddlier beading wire. So if you struggle with really thin threads, go for the thicker thread. And there we go. So that's the difference. I prefer the gold, so I'm going to take that beading wire out. Those are my sharp scissors. They cut the beading wire a lot better. So there we go. He is all done. That is Mr. Owl. So next up is going to be Mr. Badger, and I'll release the video in a day or two. And he's really simple body, and we're going to obviously recreate those baubles. But thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.